Welcome on, and it is that time for Roundtable Live here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Be rolling on till 4 a.m. in the morning Eastern Time. New ideas, different hosts every night, different subjects every night. You never know what's going to happen right here at the Roundtable Club. King Arthur has nothing on us. We're going around.
Okay, hello everyone. This is Bobby Vicarious, and welcome to Urban Psychosis, which is a roundtable. And I want to bring someone in first to talk to, and then after that I'll open it up. And I just have to make sure that they're ready. And of course, if they take too long, then I'm just going to freaking open it up. But anyway, I've had some bad problems last week and the week before. I think I've got everything covered this week. I've got my phone number works. It's 804. Well, it's 1-804-591-0046. So that's 1-804-591-0046. And you can find me on Skype. Just search on Bobby Space Vicarious. You'll find me. And so yeah, it's been a rough couple of weeks. I'm really looking forward to just getting the show on the road here and hosting a roundtable. Last week was terrible. I didn't know whether I was on or off, and kept dropping, and I had to do the hijacker thing where I turn the thing on and blast it to see if I'm on. So this week, I wrote a program to monitor and alert me, if I'm dropping out, and I've tested my Skype to make sure I could take calls, and I think I got everything covered this week, so we'll see how it goes. I'm sure something will go wrong. It always does. All right. So I guess I have to talk about something first to see if my guest was is going to come in soon. But if they don't come in soon, I don't want to talk forever. I just try to open it up then, and we'll get rolling. I haven't spent much time finding anything to talk about because I've been so busy with this other stuff, which I figured, what's the point of having it? I had stuff to talk about last week, but what's the point of trying to talk about it if I don't even know whether I'm on or I'm off, or anyone can hear me, or all these ridiculous things. So so that was a bummer. And the week before was actually much better. That was my first week. That one I just couldn't take calls, but I could bring people on Skype. So all right, well, I don't have a whole lot to talk about. Did you hear about this thing? They're pushing this Z gender neutral pronoun. It's like ZE. It's a gender neutral pronoun. So instead of being Mr., you would be Z. Not bad. It's apparently it's identical to the communist China pronoun. Go figure, right? So I guess their pronoun is gender neutral. So anyway, I haven't heard anybody call anybody Z yet, but if you do, you'll know what's going on there. Right. This one, I had this one for a long time, this article. This is like the weirdest thing I saw, and the gist of it was that I guess people are getting censored on Instagram for showing nipples. But somebody did an experiment, and you can't tell the difference between male and female nipples if all you see are the nipples. If that's all you see, if you don't see the surrounding area, you really can't tell the difference. So I think they're making a good point there. Like, Instagram, figure that one out. How the hell do you know? So everything is like getting censored all of a sudden. I'm hearing about people, getting their YouTube stuff removed, and I don't know what's going on. I guess I'm hoping that, there'll be some third-party person that'll jump in there and pick up the slack with not something new. I mean, it would be nice to put the screws to, Skype and YouTube and all these people who are like, moving over to the, fascist side or have been on the fascist side. I mean, I know there are alternatives to Skype. I just haven't had the time to check them out. But I mean, if there was an alternative to Skype that actually worked better, and it was free, that might be a good thing to do. So, all right, what the hell? All right, now, I don't know if you listen to Bruce McDonald's show. I listened to him. He had an excellent first appearance, and he went through his autobiography, which I thought was very interesting. And I considered doing that, except I wasn't sure whether I should do it or not, because first off, I think a lot of people know my sort of autobiography just from talking to me. Oh, here's my special guest. Oh, thank you for saving me from my autobiography. Yo, Bill. Hello, Bill. Mr. Bill. He's not quite here. He's coming. Oh, Bill, are you there? To Bill. Crap, man, I see you. Don't hear you.
Oh, damn, I did the mute thing by accident.
You did the mute thing. Don't do the mute thing, man.
I had problems with mute a couple times lately where it wouldn't mute, but it really was, but it didn't show that it was. And then when I was trying to unmute, it wouldn't reverse. I had to hang up and try it a couple times. But this time I think I just didn't click it hard enough, or I just swiped over it fast and just missed the edge of it. So sorry about that. And but it's funny that Keith Arizona, he always says he has the restless mute syndrome finger or something like that, and he did it today too, but that's okay. But anyway, yeah, thanks for asking me on about this subject we're getting ready to talk about. And but real quick, the nipple thing. Now I think I know why you put this icon up here that I can see. And I was going to do the same thing years ago, but people have to remember it's legal to just simply put a little bit of paint or nail polish. In some cases, it's just the nipple. Otherwise, it has to be your whole chest if you're a female. And there are judges, including in New York City, that will not arrest you. In other words, if you go before that judge, they know it should be constitutional and legal, just as, equal right for men and women to go bare-chested, and that it's strictly a religious caused belief system because of Adam and Eve. About Adam and Eve, they had to cover themselves because of shame. But that was ridiculous, absolutely ludicrous thing to follow and believe in. It's only something we follow from our ancient past, and now our governments and cabals want to just sell clothes, so they make it illegal to be nude. I mean, that's what we are. We are a nude animal, and if we weren't, we'd have fur, and fur is our clothing. So there really isn't such a thing as it's not a morality issue. It can't be considered good nor bad. It's neither. It is what we are. You have hairless rats and hairless cats sometimes, and whales, they don't have hair. They're not wearing clothes. Fish aren't. It's irrelevant. It's literally insane. It's actually insane. And if you think it's odd for someone to believe in nudity or streaking, it's you that's the problem. It's literally you are washed. It's you. You're the one who's crazy. And I do mean in that area, you're crazy. I don't mean you're wrong. You're actually insane. You've been brainwashed by society, and it's been normalized. However, There are plenty of good reasons to wear clothes, and it helps the imagination sometimes as well. I didn't mean to take over there, Vicarious.
Yeah, well, I agree with you there, Bill, except, I wasn't really, pushing going with no clothes. I just thought it was an interesting article that they're censoring people, women showing nipples or whatever, but, this guy demonstrated that you can't tell the difference if all you see is the nipple. But somehow they have a hang-up on the nipple because it's like, women can show their breasts, they just can't show the nipple. So it's like, I don't know what that particular hang-up is. But I've seen these pictures of nude women that are like painted by artists, like it looks like they have clothes on. And that is really amazing. Have you seen those, Bill?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, and not only that, I mean, people can argue, no, that's not really clothes on, how bad are you? Well, it does such a good job covering you up. It really is like having clothes. It's really not an extra turn on. Like, you're not really even going to look at them as being really that naked. So it should be legal anyway. But real quick, I meant to finish the judge thing in New York just simply by saying that if you go before that judge, they will let you go free. In other words, you will not get a fine. No, they can go. Thanks for bringing her in, but you were wrong. You should not have arrested her. It's her constitutional equal rights to be nude. And they'll let you go. So, I don't know which judge that is, but there are others like that, and it should continue. And when I was a kid, it was the 70s, so they had streaking things going on in the world. And then my neighborhood, and finally me too. So I was like 7, 8 years old, running around in streaking parties up and down the street and through the woods, barefoot in the dirt too.
Yeah, I remember streaking. I was in college. When did I go to college? Like 72. I started, and they were doing streaking. I didn't do any streaking, but people were streaking around the college, and it was a fun thing to do. I mean, if you're into it, knock yourself out. So,
right, and we're not all Christians, and not all Christians want to hang their head down in shame for something someone else might have done 10,000 years ago in some magical garden where God used to walk around and actually talk to us instead of just pretending to linger in the background somewhere invisibly. I'll be there someday, don't worry, trust me, I'm coming. Yeah, I'm going to hold my breath.
Well, it's cool, Bill. This whole thing, like, about words, there's, of course, the F word, which you can't say on the radio, but that is, like, bizarre, because it's like, I remember when suck was a bad word to say, and then all of a sudden, it just became accepted, like, this sucks, that sucks, it's like, it's just people sort of somehow adapted to the word, and it lost its bad connotation. The thing that floored me was when my wife's mother said it one time. I'm like, my God, it's moved down a generation.
Yeah, I am part of the problem there in a way because, like for my little nephew, again, with the same home speaking area, when I was 7 or 8, we had my little nephew come over. He used to live across the street from which others there, and from that same house we used to leave and go streaking in the back. But he's in our room, and me and my sister are teaching him how to swear, and he's at most, I believe, 5. He's probably 3, 4, absolutely no older than 5, but I believe he was like 3 or 4. So he was known as the nice little kid, and me and my sister are going, say this, Alan, say that, say shit, say suck, say this, say that. He's like screaming it out loud and laughing, screaming it out loud, and we forgot about it. We totally forgot. And he went away, he went to his home, we did our thing, and so many months go by, and one day we hear, you guys are in trouble. And like, he's at my grandmother's house going, F you, Nana. He's like 4, like, F you, Grandpa, F this, F that.
Well,
so that's my fault. I'm sorry, everybody.
Hey, Bill, I want to move us into the next topic because that's what I really want to hear about. And it's like, I just want to say briefly that this whole thing about you teaching a little kid to swear. I mean, But you weren't an adult at the time, so. But I remember I've got 2 boys and a girl, and I remember one time my boys were out in the backyard playing with their friends, and they were using the F word and stuff like that. And I didn't say anything when their friends were around, but later on, I talked to them and I said, look, man, it's cool to do that, if you're with your friends, but only if somebody else can't hear you, the windows are open right here, the neighbors can hear you, man. Like, if you're down at the park or something, the baseball field, nobody's going to hear you over there, it's like, so just keep in mind, where you are when you're doing that, because, it's not good for adults, it's not good for girls to be hearing that, and, you may think girls, are okay hearing that, but, it's really not right, it's, I don't know, I'm old-fashioned, but, I explained it to them. I didn't say don't do it, I just said, be aware of where you're doing it, that's all. So anyway, I want to move us on to this other thing, which is I'm really interested in finding out this thing about a lot of people. You might have heard about this thing that White Cloud invented, or Bill may say that White Cloud didn't invent it, but I'm not so concerned about who invented it. I'm concerned about how it works, what it does, and I find it hard to believe that this thing can actually work. So because my take on it is you take this sticker and you stick it on your, by your gas, tank, and somehow you get fantastic gas mileage. And I'm trying to think, like, how the hell can that be possible? So explain it to me, Bill.
Okay. All right. This actually, believe it or not, can get very complicated. But it's actually...
Oh, don't get complicated, though. Keep it at a layman thing.
There's a way to do both in a way to sort of bridge ultra complicated everything else to this simple thing. Now, everything is chain reaction. That's the simple answer. And everything is linked, and there are formulas for everything. And in other words, everything you could say is a program in a program, is by program type. Mathematics, reasonability, reasons. Everything, there's a reason for everything. What is a reason? It's somebody thinking something through logically. What's logic? 2 plus 2 equals 4. Everything is math, everything is reason, everything is thought. So everything, what is physics? Physics isn't what it is. It's something a conscious being thinks about. He has put a bunch of experiences together logically, mathematically. He has created a formula based on his experiences, what he's seen. And every time I put my hand in this glowing object, damn, does that hurt. And I'm probably not going to put my hand in that glowing object. Let's call it something. Fire, F, something to do with that. Damn, that's hot. So, all right. Some things, some glowing objects, you can't even reach them. They're pretty high in the sky. You feel the warmth. They don't burn you. But these glowing objects on the ground, damn, be it every single time I put my hand too close. Son of a bitch, it does the same damn thing every time. That's physics. This same situation always produces the same experience, no matter how you get around it. So we put all this science together and gathered all this information. What does it all add up to? Well, it really adds up to how your mind works, because you're a conscious mental being experiencing something. And 2 seconds ago, you were the same person that you are now. Even though that's another time in another place, that you is in a different place in a different time than this one right now. That's 2 Bobs and 2 Bills. Well, no, it's one. No matter how long you go into the future, no matter how far in the past, no matter how many times you divide our little moment by moments up, we're the same exact person now that we were then. And what does this relate? How does this relate to a simple sticker? The stickers are hologram stickers, and they're literally digitized. They're off of a computer, that is using numbers in an exact way, a geometrical way, which is a specific mathematical way. And everything in the universe is connected to everything else, and everything is related under one program called experience. It doesn't exist if it can't be experienced. And if it's not experienced, well, what do we know about quantum mechanics? They call this quantum technology. Why? Because it has to do with the double slit experiment, and every time you observe the result, you get one thing. If you don't observe it, you get another thing. Observing something literally creates it. It's the definition. The definition of anything is something that is experienced. Nothing can exist outside of something experienced at some time or another. So everything has to do with the mind, and the brain is set up in an exact geometrical way. It's hardware, it is a computer, and it's designed to function that if certain patterns happen, you get a picture from your eyes, a sound from the ears. And see, this is all unified information. So the sticker is literally a solid form of information, and everything has to do with everything else, and everything in life is a formula. And there's two kinds of formulas, the destructive kind and the creative kind. So generative, in other words, life growing life, things coming together to form something coherently and very good. So that would be like healing. When you cut yourself and then you heal, that's generative. And so it's free energy. And when you get the cut, that's degeneration. So degenerative. So degenerating. Dying is degeneration. Let's say you get killed, you fall to the ground, you kind of rot, you're degenerating. So there is generative. Everything is under these formulas. Everything in life, no matter what it is, has to do with the creation or destruction of life somewhere in the universe. And everything will become life, and all life will become, you will die and then become another life form. And every life form has a path. So all this is logically unified in some kind of math, and we figured it out. It has to do with divine geometry, divine spirals. And in physics, when you look at particles, what do most particles do? They spiral, and there's all kinds of formulas, from vortexes of water to hurricanes, tornadoes, and particles and their paths, and it all comes down to the same thing. The mind, specific math, and everything to do with AI. How do you know if AI is conscious or just a robot, just automatic? It's ultimately all the same thing. So everything is attached, and everything affects everything. And I'm getting to now we're getting to how these stickers work, because our mind knows everything. So it knows everything about anything that enters its field of experience, its vision. When you find a rock or a gemstone, and everything, it has a specific effect on you, and you have a specific effect on it. And its history also. So when ultimately, let me skip to a TV and a computer. When we look at a TV screen, our psychic ability, our super subconscious knowledge knows everything about how that picture got here, the communication from you to me. This is the connection. And it knows things about you. And it's sort of affecting me. If you're sick, or if you're angry, if you're hurt, if you're in pain. And information isn't exactly transferred over the lines through the wires exactly, but it doesn't make any difference. There's always at least a symbolic connection. Everything's connected. So we found a formula to electromagnetically do a reading on any object, on its frequency, and more than that, resonance and all kinds of stuff. And when we take that measurement, digitize it, and then reduplicate that frequency on another object, like a hologram sticker, there is what you could consider an attached knowledge, an attached effect. And the other laws of the universe is the law of attraction and repulsion to go with the general activity and the degeneration. So those four laws, it's kind of two laws that go together. Okay, and it means it has to do with like, the law of like, the law of sameness versus the law of difference. And so things attract, and circumstances attract, and people attract, and like circumstances and like thinking people attract. And whenever you transfer some kind of communication, some kind of picked up knowledge, or let's say you record something, whatever was in that area, the information goes with it that attracts your psychic ability. There's some kind of attracting principles connecting to each other. So if that's a healthy object, some kind of healthy information goes with it and pulls you and your body into the general active state, into a like sameness. Everything is repelling or attracting each other. The formula, everything is formula, and all formulas are narrowed down to these formulas I'm talking about. The mind, the power of attraction, and the power of destruction and creation. Everything, no matter what it is. Transportation, communication, food, and holistics. And when people use gemstones and to heal, and when they use holistics, like shaman knew that you didn't have to eat a plant for it to be beneficially affecting you. You just simply had to touch it or be near it. You didn't have to eat it at all. So there's some kind of transferred information, frequency, knowledge, or just information, some encodable information. And so our scientists figured out how to encode and transfer that so that the power of attraction causes that healthy effect in something else. So they transfer that healthy effect to another object, being a hologram sticker, imprinted, digitally imprinted, but they do some other things to it, and it has to do with, you have to have the right number of numbers. You really should have a minimum of like 10,000 pixels, and that's a very small number, I know. But you have to make some little geometrical shape changes on, let's say you take a picture of an area, and it's a nice sunset, and there's a person in that picture, and they actually feel good. Information about that person feeling good goes with that picture you just took, that you can take out of your digital camera, take home, put on your computer screen. There's going to be some kind of power of repulsion or attraction to what was going on in that picture. So let's say you didn't even realize there was a couple in love on a bench in the shadows when you took the picture. It just was a nice silhouette. Still, that information can make you feel good when you see this picture. And if you didn't know, literally someone was buried who was murdered on that beach, and they went through horrible pain and screaming, that effect goes through the TV screen as well as the computer and in every picture you take, because you're psychically entangled. So it has to do with quantum entanglement, which is why I brought up quantum earlier, and how things act at a distance, even though the reality is there is no such thing as distance. There is no 5 dimensions. There's no 3 dimensions. There are no dimensions. There are none at all. It's actually zero. So everything is overlapping. And you just have the law of how to add or subtract, enhance or eliminate other experiences around you to make what you are, make you think you are where you are compared to other people, so where they think they are and all that. So, everything in physics has to do with formulas, and all formulas have to do with the mind. So everything is mental, everything is spiritual. That means everything is from the soul. And so that's partly why these hologram stickers work, because what they're doing is you're taking a measurement of a situation. Let's say you have a high efficiency fuel burning situation with maybe it has high oxygen or the best fuel or a good combination, and you take a picture or an electromagnetic reading, but you're using a specific machine that operates with divine mathematics. divine technology, you could say, then that sort of causes you take a digital imprint of that situation. So the situation is high efficiency, high, easily burning, clean burning fuel. And this is still the simplified version of it. So you take a digital electromagnetic picture, you get it up on a screen, you could say, you tweak it mathematically, you change the program, you change the math. And that change is a universal brotherhoodly known, spiritual, higher orderly known math. And you make changes to that, it automatically causes a connection. And that's how psychic power works. That's how teleportation works. That's how time travel works. So all of this science went into the brotherhoods and secret societies long knew to study everything and pull everything into a super unified science, no matter what it is, no matter how they had to do it. And this all has to do with that. So they figured out, divine science, essentially, geometry, divine geometry, and divine math. So, and it's right thinking versus wrong thinking. The right kind of thinking leads you to a better life. It's the power of attraction. You want to attract goodness, attract growth, attract prosperity. So when you sort of use all this technology in a high fuel, high efficiency burning kind of digital reading, then you transfer it through onto a computer, and then you attach a picture to it, and then you print out that picture onto a hologram. Now, the hologram represents a three-dimensional picture, so that's partly why it's geometrical. It has to do with literally how our brain works. In hand-to-eye coordination, you got a left eye and a right eye, and the left side of your brain and the right side, and all this. How does your brain work? How does your brain coordinate the left and the right and create a three-dimensional picture and image and tell you where you are and how and who you are? And really, there is no three-dimensional picture. There never was. Your brain is receiving two completely separate two-dimensional pictures. You have a two-dimensional picture on the left and a two-dimensional picture on the right, and the differences between them are mathematically figured out in the brain, and the brain creates a representation of what it should mean. You're not seeing a three-dimensional picture, not with your eyes, not with anything. It's just a representation. It's a simulation inside your brain. Everything you see is not outside of you. Everything you've ever seen or experienced has always been inside of your head. And then you could argue if you're a soul outside your body, that's kind of a different story. But so that same math goes into how do you transfer one experience, one type of action going on to a different location. It's, let's say you bring that sticker now that you've made it over to fuel. Now it's a similar situation as the other. So we're using the law of life, the law of sameness, and all things that are similar attract. And two spinning objects, let's say one spinning object above the other object in water, they attract if they're spinning in the same direction. If they're side by side, two vortexes on the surface of water spinning in opposite directions, the sides that are touching each other are actually moving in the same direction. So again, it's the same type of motion causes it. They attract. Two spinning vortexes next to each other, spinning in opposite directions, they attract. If they're spinning in the same direction, they repel. This is normal physics. It applies to everything. Tornadoes can't spin next to each other. They'll throw each other around each other which direction they're spinning. All this goes into this kind of formula. The spiral math and the spiral way of thinking. It all goes into the math of how to create these holograms, and these holograms create a power of the law of like and similarity, and then those two separate situations sort of pull together, sort of attract towards each other to try to be more like each other. Okay, they're trying to become more like each other. Each situation is trying to become like the other. So you take that hologram sticker and you put it over a gas tank. Now it's similar because you got gas and oxygen and burning of oxygen. Now you know the old situation that you took a digital reading of was fuel burning with oxygen at certain pressures. Now it kind of matches this situation in your gas tank and in your engine. And now, what does it do? It causes a chain reaction that simply results in the suppression of the more bad things that would happen and the amplification of all the better, more efficient fuel burning situation. So your gas burns more fuel efficient. The situations have transferred to each other. And that's actually how the soul works, why the soul is in each body, and it has to do with how they messed with Solaris. And it's all the same math, and it's all the reason why we can teleport and move faster than light and go through time. It's all the power of attraction, and rocket power is the power of repulsion and destruction, and where things just explode apart and fly apart in different pieces, and they push each other apart. The explosion goes backwards, all the fuel bits go backwards, and you go forwards, and you separate from your fuel, and that's how a rocket works. So you go in opposite directions, and you basically are flying apart. It's destruction, and if it's too powerful, the whole ship blows up. So, and the opposite is the power of gravity and attracting magnetism. It's all the same physics, because you're trying to figure out how this situation over here can affect this other situation over there at a different time in a different place. Well, everything is in reality in the same place. And the only thing we have to do is find out how to cancel out the other, seemingly other places and other environments, in a sense. So, in a sense, when you're moving, you're not really moving. It's more like the picture is changing, like you're in a video game. So, let's say there's a ball in front of you, and it's just a sphere, it's sitting there, you know, it's just sitting there. And then it moves to the left. Well, what really happened is it didn't move. The right side of it got destroyed and eliminated, it got canceled out. And the left side, more got amplified. So it was more like something new was created on the left, and something on the right was destroyed in a series that kept moving to the left. It never moved at all. You could say it was always right where you are, actually. And so what is this power of creation and destruction? And it has to do with how light overlaps with light, and wave cancellation and wave interference. It all has to do with mostly wave interference patterns. And that links to quantum entanglement, and that links to the double slit experiment, and how could matter be energy and light at the same time. And when it's in light energy waveform, how those waves overlap and interfere with each other, causing amplification versus cancellation effects. You could say destructive effects versus extra creation effects. So it's like overlapping one experience onto another, and it's like overlapping one picture over another. And if you have two pictures that you can see through, two gels, and then, like, let's say you're holding one picture on your left and one picture on your right, and they're different, and you're holding them up in front of a window or something, and then you move them over each other. Well, now you have a new picture. It's a different picture, and you know, like where blue overlapped red, now those sections are now purple, and where yellow overlapped red, and now those sections are orange, and where red overlapped green, those canceled out. They turned gray, or you could even say white. You know, so everything is overlap and interference. Everything is about interference. Quantum entanglement and interference patternism. Everything is patternism. And when it comes down to the three-dimensional universe of solid objects, what makes up the three-dimensional solid object universe is just nothing but spheres bouncing into each other. Nothing else does exist. And that would be the ether. The ether. It's just a bunch of billiard balls, infinite number of billiard balls. And the patterns they make by colliding into each other and knocking each other off in different directions is what ultimately gives you the appearance of matter and energy, gravity and magnetism. But ultimately everything is still entangled quantumly one way or another. And the answer is our mind, because we never really physically move forward or backwards and go up and down. The picture changes. You never really touch an object. You think you see your hand out in front of you, and you think that when it makes contact with that solid object you call a rock, you note that when that picture called a hand comes into the same location as that rock, you usually get a sensation that seems like a sensation called solid object. It's some tactile sensation. They usually go together. They don't have to, and they don't. That's called an illusion. That's called like magic and tricking you. And a TV set, there's no real object there. It's just a picture. There's no solid objects. So it's just a simulation. Everything is a simulation. And when you take drugs or your brain is screwed up, things get out of whack and the formula gets screwy. You have what you now call a hallucination, and things don't match up. The right things don't match up to what you think they should, and you have either go blind, or you have a hallucination, or you think you have an arm when you actually lost it in a war, or you don't feel your arm at all because it's numb. All kinds of things, but you really do, and it's not what you think it is, or you feel like you're stretched when you're on drugs, or the walls are stretching and they're melting, and it's really just the formula, the math is getting screwed up, and they figured out how the mind works, and memory and vision and all this. They found the seat of the soul, mostly in the brain, and Da Vinci was working on that concept as many others were, and this has been secret science for thousands of years. All the real science has always been accumulated, added up, trying to figure out how everything is united, how they all work the same, how is everything the same versus how is everything different. Everything in the whole universe, every galaxy, every particle and atom down to your mind, and how does consciousness relate, and how does psychic powers work? How can we read each other's minds and telepathically communicate to each other or share dreams? And I was going to create a company called what the hell is it called? It was something like the World Dream Grid, and it was going to be about people sharing each other's dreams and trying to find out who shared the same dream, which I used to do often, and people can do that on purpose. So how does all this work? You're not in the same place, but it's been absolutely proven time and time again, unequivocally. You have these scientists around the world who think it's nonsense. It's absolutely unequivocally been proven many, many times over. It should be taught in school as 100% fact, known fact. Psychic ability does work, and there are no known, normal, lower, open scientific laws about how that can work, because they don't talk about. There is no such thing as space. There is no separation between anything. There never was, and there never will be. There is, in a sense, that we're all different. We're different versions of the same thing. We're all connected, directly and indirectly, and one indirect way we're connected is through time. So you could say, in one weird, odd way to look at it, also, when you're, let's say, we're standing in the schoolyard, you like to lean against the fence a lot in that corner. Well, later on, you're not going to be there, but later on, somebody else at a different time will be in that same spot, and then later on, somebody else will be in that same spot. Well, it'll be a different time, but it's exactly all in the same place. In that limited way, you're all in the same place. You're all occupying the same place. Over time, of course. And then it can get weirder and hairier, but see, it all comes down to the soul. It all comes down to the spirit and the mind. How does the spirit work? How does the soul know to be in this one body? How come you're only attached to this one body, this one brain and or body? This is why it's the power of light. It's the power of attraction. How is it the brain, if you were to take the brain is not one object. So how is it that your one soul can feel like you're in one solid body, one connected all together body? Your body is not connected. It's just a bunch of particles kind of next to each other. They're kind of attracted to each other. It's just like the moon is spinning around the planet. They're not touching. They're just kind of swarming around each other. And every particle they're made out of is just a bunch of things attracted to each other, just kind of being next to each other. And those things are made of smaller things, and it does not go on for forever. So I'm sorry to say, folks. It essentially goes down to the final true atom, which the word atom was based on, which is the indivisible, the final last piece of object that all other objects are built upon, which is the ether. And that's just a sphere, a perfect sphere. There's no imperfections in it whatsoever, and there can't be. It's a perfect solid. Of course, that's still just an object in our minds, and but our mind is attracted to it, and it determines what it experiences based on its motions until we separate. Now I'm going into more spiritual, theoretical stuff, but which is not what you intended specifically to talk about, Bob. But it really all does come down to the soul. It comes down to the mind and mind mental formulas. The whole body, all life, the formation of life, all has to do with why these simple little stickers work. It's because like attracts like. Our soul was attracted to the experiences this body and brain is going to have throughout its entire time, for one reason or another. And all physical objects in the universe work by the power of light, and all math works by the power of light. An entanglement, how one object can affect another object at any distance instantly, which is still theoretical that it's actually instant. It could be just so fast that we can't measure the difference, but there are instantaneous effects. And the other answer is the power of coincidence. It's a law, it's a mathematical law of coincidence and fate. Everything is fated. Everything has a fate, and we're all guaranteed to line up to everything in a certain way. Otherwise, you couldn't be conscious, and your consciousness couldn't be attracted to this experience, and nor could it even be capable of experiencing. You're only capable of experiencing certain things within certain parameters. Your brain, your mind, your soul will not experience things it can't experience. It doesn't matter what matter or your body or your brain are doing. If it goes outside of certain mathematical parameters that you are specifically operating under, it just will never be observed or noticed. You either won't feel that pain, or you're just not going to get it. And so the whole universe has to be that way. Nothing can exist or can be experienced that isn't mathematically capable of being experienced within mathematical limitations and formulas. So everything is a formula. They found out what that formula is that causes ultimate attraction. It causes attraction being people to meeting each other, literal attraction, gravitational and literal magnetic attraction, electrostatic, and all things in life. You're attracted to money, you're attracted to good experiences, or you're repelled by certain people and repelled from places, and you're scared away from this and you're scared away from that, or you hate that person or you hate that object, or it makes you literally physically go left instead of right, and it takes on a different path your life is going to take. So your life journey has everything to do with this. Everything has to do with the power of attraction, the power of life, and it's soul science, because you're on a soul journey, a mental journey of experience, and that is why it comes down to the word essence, soul essence. It's soul science, and it's the essence of life. It's the Essene way, the Essene in or Essene way, which is considered to be the Christian Christ consciousness way, and it has everything to do with the soul, of course. Christ, Christos, and crystal, and light, and religion, and life after death. How is it you can survive life after death? how is it you could be conscious at all? How could your soul be stuck to a body? If the soul is supposed to be able to go right through walls, it's not physical. How is it if your body goes left, your soul just doesn't stay in the same place and your body leaves you? So it has to do with these formulas. They're mind formulas. That's what we figured out. Everything is a mental formula to do with consciousness or a lack of it. But any questions, any interjection?
Yeah, Bill, I was hoping you were going to turn it back to me because I did promise you that I wouldn't interrupt you, which is important because every time I listen to you and you try to explain something, people are interrupting you, and it messes you up, and it messes up me because I'm trying to follow you, and that's why I wanted to bring you on and just tell you, look, you tell me when you're ready, when you're done. But I did follow what you're saying, and it does make a lot of sense to me. And the good news is that I'm recording this, and I've got a monitoring program, checking bite count. I'm covered with all kinds of stuff tonight to make sure that everything is working because of the problems I've had. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to have a good recording. I plan on putting it up on Skype unless you have any problems with that, Bill.
No, I don't care. It doesn't matter. People should always record everything, and some people get offended by that, and they shouldn't be, because if you're recording someone who is telling the truth and who is a good person, who has good intentions, then they should have no worries. They're trying to tell you something they want you to know and want other people to know. So, but if I was lying, and it was, let's say I was a thief and I'm someone bad and we're talking secretly, well, you just caught me being a bad person and I should be exposed. And if I wasn't a bad person, then there's no reason for me to release anything unless it was good and in my favor anyway. And it's like, I'm not writing a book. I'm not making any money. If anything, I'm losing money. Like, one reason I won't work.
Hey, Bill, we hit the brakes, so when we come back, I just want to ask you some questions, and then I'll open it up for people to call in, because I know they want to ask you questions.
You got it.
Radio.